I never had the courage to say it out loud, but I always hated how my life had become predictable. At 65, I was exactly who everyone expected me to be: a respectable widow, a devoted grandmother, a church volunteer, a book club member. Catherine Ann Morrison, a woman who made all the right choices and ended up feeling completely empty, thought. It was my granddaughter who found the flyer. Olivia, 23, and armed with that relentless youthful energy, arrived for our weekly tea waving a colorful paper. "Grandma, look at this. It's never too late for music. Classes for mature adults. It's perfect for you." I looked at the flyer skeptically. The photograph showed smiling elderly people holding guitars and keyboards, looking absurdly happy. "Olivia dear, I'm 65, I can't just start learning an instrument. Why not? You're always saying you need a hobby. And you used to play piano. I remember seeing old photos. That was almost 50 years ago." Exactly. 50 years wasted. Olivia took my hand, her eyes suddenly very serious. "Grandma, since Grandpa Frank died, you just exist. You go to the same places, see the same people, do the same things. When was the last time you did something just because you wanted to?" The question hit me harder than it should have. When had it been? I couldn't remember. My life for the last 3 years had been a gray sequence of identical days, each bleeding into the next with no distinction or real purpose. "I'll think about it," I promised, more to end the conversation than from real intention. But that night, alone in that house that was too big, I found myself searching the attic. I found the dust-covered shoebox full of photographs and mementos from a life I almost lived. There, I was at 16, dark hair falling over my shoulders, smiling at the camera while holding sheet music, and beside me in another photo was him, Daniel Whitmore, my first love, my duet partner, the boy who played violin while I played piano, creating music so beautiful it made the world disappear. We had plans: Juilliard, a life of music, tours across Europe. Big, impossible dreams that shone like stars, until reality arrived in the form of an unplanned pregnancy at 19. Frank Morrison, my practical boyfriend from community college, offered marriage and stability. My parents, horrified by the potential shame, practically pushed me down the aisle. Daniel was in New York, chasing our dreams alone. I never had the courage to tell him. The baby, my son Thomas, was born 7 months after the wedding. I loved him fiercely, desperately. Frank was a good father, a decent husband. But the music died inside me the day at the registry office, along with the girl who dreamed impossibly. The next morning, I signed up for the class. I arrived 10 minutes early, my hands sweating as I held my bag. There were already 5 people there, all clearly in their 60s or 70s. A woman with lavender purple hair tuned a ukulele. A bald man wrestled with the strings of a guitar. And then, in the corner, with his back to me, a silver-haired man adjusted a violin under his chin. Something tightened in my chest. The way he held the instrument, the curve of his shoulders, even the tilt of his head, all terribly familiar. He turned, and the world tilted. Blue eyes, still that impossible summer sky blue, met mine. Recognition flashed across his face like lightning, followed by something that looked like physical pain. "Katie," only he called me that. Only he took my formal name and made it soft, intimate. "Daniel!" My voice came out a whisper, "V." We stood frozen while the other participants chatted around us, oblivious to the fact that time had just folded in on itself. You came back to Pleasant Valley. I managed at last. 6 months ago. My mother got sick. After she died, I just stayed. He set the violin carefully on the table, as if he didn't trust his hands. "And you never left." "No, How do you explain a whole life in a few words? Things changed. Plans changed. Before I could elaborate, the instructor arrived, a vibrant woman in her 50s named Marina, who immediately began organizing us. I ended up at the piano. Of course there was a piano, and Daniel stood a few meters away with his violin. Like ghosts of who we had been. Today, Marina announced with overthought enthusiasm, we'll explore the basics. For some of you, it will be review. For others, uncharted territory. Remember, no judgment here, only the joy of making sound. Flow. I placed my fingers on the keys, and it was like coming home after 50 years of exile. They remembered. My body remembered. I started with simple scales, feeling the muscles stretch, the muscle memory waking. And then I heard it. Daniel's violin, playing softly behind me, finding harmonies with my notes as if we had never been apart. It was instinctive, inevitable. Our music had always been like that, a wordless conversation, two instruments becoming one. Marina noticed too. You two, she pointed to us, eyes shining. Play together. Something simple. Whatever you want. Daniel looked at me, a question in his eyes. I nodded slightly. He lifted the violin, and without discussion, without a conscious decision, we began to play Clair de Lune, our music. The piece we had played together hundreds of times when we were young, when the world was pure possibility. My fingers found the notes like old friends. Daniel's violin sang above them, through them, weaving around them in a dialogue more intimate than any conversation. I closed my eyes and was 17 again, playing in the school recital, believing that this music would be our life. When the last note died, the room was silent. I opened my eyes and found tears on my face. Daniel had lowered his violin, looking at me with an intensity that made my heart ache. Beautiful, Marina said softly, breaking the spell. You clearly have history together. We didn't just have history, we had an entire universe that had existed and then been obliterated, leaving only echoes and regrets. After class, while others packed instruments and chatted excitedly, Daniel approached. Coffee? He asked. I think we have a lot to talk about. We went to the small corner cafe, a place that hadn't existed when we were young. We sat by the window, and for long moments simply looked at each other, cataloging changes. You got married, he said finally, noticing my wedding ring. I still wore it, 3 years after Frank died. Not out of persistent love, but out of habit. Protection. Yes. Frank Morrison. He passed 3 years ago. Heart attack. I twisted the ring on my finger. And you? Married twice. Divorced twice. No children. He sipped his coffee. I had the career, Katie. First chair in the New York Philharmonic for 20 years. I played at Carnegie Hall, in Vienna, in Tokyo. All the places we dreamed of. But, what? It meant nothing without you there. The words came raw, honest, every performance, every standing ovation, and all I could think was that you should have been on stage with me. That it was supposed to be us. Tears burned again. Daniel, I didn't choose to abandon our dreams. Life just happened. Tell me, he said gently. Tell me what happened to the girl who was going to conquer the musical world with me. So I told him. About the pregnancy, the rushed marriage, Thomas born 7 months later. About how I sold the piano a week after the wedding because I couldn't look at it without feeling all I had lost. About building a life around being a mother, then grandmother, then widow. About waking up one day at 65 and realizing I didn't know who I was beyond those roles. Do you love Thomas? He asked when I finished. More than life itself. He saved me, in a way. He gave me purpose when I was drowning. I looked at my hands. But yes, I spent 46 years wondering who I might have been if I had been braver. If I had told you, if we had found a way, I would have come back. You know that, right? If I had known, I would have dropped everything and come. I know. That's why I didn't tell you. You had just gotten into Juilliard. Your future was opening. How could I be the person to take that from you? So you carried it alone. Frank was good to me. He was a decent provider. We had an okay life. The words sounded as inadequate as it felt. But every time I heard music on the radio, at church, anywhere, I had to leave the room because it hurt so much. Daniel reached across the table and took my hand. Katie, look at me. I waited until our eyes met. I never stopped loving you. For 47 years, I never stopped. I tried. I married 2 wonderful women trying to replace what we had. But you were in every note I played, in every piece, in every dream. Don't say that, I whispered. Please don't make this harder. Why would it be harder? We're both alone. We both still love music. We both clearly still feel something, because I'm 65. Because that girl you loved died long ago. I'm just an old tired woman who wasted her life and doesn't know how to fix it. Do you think I don't see that? His voice grew intense. Do you think I look at you and see only wrinkles and gray hair? Katie, I see the girl who played piano with her eyes closed, completely lost in music. I see the woman who sacrificed her dreams for her son. I see someone who survived, who built a life even when her heart was broken. I cried then. 47 years of unshed tears. Daniel moved to the side of the counter and held me while I sobbed. While other customers pretended not to notice, while all the pain and regret finally found release. I'm so afraid, I admitted against his shoulder. Afraid it's too late. That I wasted too much time. That I don't know how to dream anymore. Then, let's learn together, he said. We'll start small, music lessons every week. Coffee after maybe eventually playing together again. For real. And if we find we're just 2 old people living in the past, and if we find we still have a future. In the weeks that followed, we developed a routine. Lessons on Wednesdays, followed by coffee that stretched into dinner. On Saturdays, Daniel came to my house and we played together on the upright piano I'd bought on impulse. Music returned to my life like spring after too long a winter, thawing parts of me I thought had died forever. But it wasn't easy. My family had opinions. Thomas, now 46 and father of 3, was visibly uncomfortable when I mentioned Daniel. Mom, you barely know this man, and Dad only died 3 years ago. I knew Daniel long before I met your father, I replied calmly. And 3 years is enough time to grieve. But music, seriously, you're 65, isn't it a little late for a midlife hobby? The criticism hurt because it echoed my own fears. But for the first time in decades, I found a backbone I didn't know I still had. Thomas, I love you. But I spent 46 years living for everyone but myself. If it's too late, then so be it. At least I tried. Olivia, of course, was ecstatic. Grandma's having a romance. This is amazing. It's not a romance, I corrected, but the truth was, I didn't know what it was. Daniel and I existed in that strange space between past and present, between what was and what might be. 2 months after our first class, Daniel invited me to something different. There's a small recital at the community center next month. Local musicians, mostly amateurs. Marina suggested we play together. A simple duet. He hesitated. But only if you want to. No pressure. My first instinct was to refuse. I was 65. I hadn't performed publicly in nearly 50 years. I would make mistakes, embarrass myself. But then I remembered the girl I had been, the one who believed music was oxygen. Yes, I heard myself say, "We'll do it." We practiced obsessively. Daniel came every night, and we played until my fingers ached, until each note was right. We chose Beethoven's sonata for piano and violin in a major ambitious, but a piece we had played in our youth. Do you remember, Daniel said during a practice, that night in the school auditorium? We practiced late, and the moon was so bright through the windows. And you kissed me for the first time, I finished. During the slow movement, I thought I would die if I didn't kiss you. You were so beautiful, so completely absorbed in the music. I was terrified you didn't feel the same. He lowered the violin, looking at me with tenderness that made my heart skip. Katie, I have loved you since I was 16. I loved you through 2 marriages. I loved you through decades of separation. I love you now, with your gray hair and arthritic hands, and all the fear you carry. Daniel, you don't need to say it back. I just needed you to know. I will not spend another day without you knowing. The night of the recital arrived quickly. I was terrified, my hands trembling as we waited behind the small stage in the intimate auditorium. About 100 people in the audience, nothing like the crowds Daniel had faced, but to me it felt like Carnegie Hall. I can't do this, I whispered. I'll forget. I'll freeze. Daniel took my shaking hands, warming them between his. Look at me. Not at the audience, not at the notes, just at me. Like we always did. We were young then. We weren't afraid. We were terrified. We just didn't let it stop us. Kissed my forehead gently. You are the bravest woman I know. You raised a son on your own in many ways. You survived loss and sacrifice, and years of silencing your dreams. Playing a few notes is nothing compared to that. We were called. I walked onto the stage, in a trance, sat at the piano, waiting while Daniel tuned. The lights were bright. I could see smiling faces in the audience. Daniel nodded, and we began. The first bars were mechanical, my fingers stiff with nerves. Then I found Daniel's gaze, and he smiled that smile I'd known since I was 16, and something inside me loosened. The music took over. It wasn't perfect. I missed notes. My technique was rusty. But it didn't matter because I was playing, really playing, for the first time in 47 years. And Daniel was with me, his violin dancing around my piano lines, conversing with them, making something beautiful out of the ruins of our youthful dreams. During the slow movement, I closed my eyes, and it could have been 1977 again. It could have been that night in the school auditorium when everything still seemed possible. But when I opened my eyes, I was here, now, 65 and shockingly alive. The last note died, and for a moment, there was only silence. Then the audience erupted into applause. I saw Thomas crying, Olivia standing ovating Marina with her hands at her heart. Daniel took my hand and helped me to my feet. We bowed together. Day. And then he hugged me, whispering, "You were magnificent." Later, when everyone had left, we sat on the empty stage, instruments set aside. I wasted so much time, I said. 47 years we could have had. Or, Daniel replied, we had lives that taught us what truly matters. You raised a son. I had my career, and now we can have this. Even if it's late. Especially because it's late. Because now we know not to waste a single moment. He took my hand. Katie, I don't know how many years we have. Maybe 5, maybe 25. But I want to spend each one making music with you. Not professionally, not for crowds, just for us. For the joy of creating something beautiful together, I looked at our clasped hands, both marked by age, both trembling slightly, both still capable of making music. And if I forget the notes, then I'll remember them for you. And if my arthritis gets worse, then we'll play more slowly. And if we're just being fools, then we'll be fools together. He pulled me closer. Katie, stop looking for reasons you can't. Give me one reason you can. And there it was. Simple and undeniable, because for the first time in 47 years, I feel alive. Then live, he said. With me, completely, without reservation, without regret. Let's take the time we have left and fill it with every note we never played, every song we never sang, every dream we let die. I kissed him, then on the empty stage under the still-lit lights. It was nothing like our teenage kisses. Those were all hormones and discovery. This was a conscious choice, hard love, gratitude for second chances. When we parted, I laughed through my tears. 65 years old. Who starts a romance at 65? Not a romance, Daniel corrected, smiling. A symphony. And we'll play every movement as if it's our last. And there, on the small community center stage, surrounded by empty seats and endless possibility, we began again.